Right, so we've got 3 VST instruments and we want to render all or one of them or individually render them. First thing to note is when you go to render in file, or rather sorry, export audio mixdown, it mixes down anything in the loop region. So depending on what you want to do, you drag the loop region to the end, so in this case to the end of the part. And also anything that is muted will not be rendered, and similarly if it's soloed it will only render what's soloed. So let's say we want to render the whole track. It's just a little example track, it's a bit lame. You can have loop on or off, it doesn't matter, cycle rather. Right, so we want to render that. Make sure your levels are good and we're not going into the red. So we go to File, Export, Audio Mixdown. Now in this dialog, first of all you've got your file name. Obviously name it something useful. Loop 1 not being a good example. You know, put the project name, BPM, stuff like that really helps later on. So we'll go for drum loop render and 101 BPM for some reason. 01, give it an 01, gives you 99 possibilities of saving later. Path, again, somewhere useful, usually not the desktop, but we'll do that anyway. When you hit save it doesn't do anything, it just establishes that's the path. File format, WAV file, well you've got a choice here obviously. I like to save in WAV at good quality 16-bit at least, if not 24-bit, and then later on convert to MP3. But if you want to do straight to MP3 you can do that. Obviously here you can set the bit rate, it's all up to you, but we'll do it as a WAV. Insert broadcast wave chunk, that's a little bit of metadata information. It's useful for, well, broadcast waves, but we don't need it. Don't use wave extensible format, leave that. The XML chunk is again a little bit of info that you can leave. So down here we've got obviously sample rate. You'll be working in 44 most likely, maybe 48 depending on your sound card, but you can leave that on 44. Bit depth, well, like I say, I like 24-bit. Obviously it takes more memory, hard disk space. Mono export, well, that mixes it down to mono. You might want that for if it's just a mono track. Real-time export, that just plays through the track and you can hear it while it's exporting. Sometimes you want to do that. Split channels, it will save it as a stereo channel as 2 mono files. You can leave that. Update display, not sure, don't worry. Then you can import it into project as soon as it's rendered. So that will, if you put pool, it will go to the pool down here, which is opened under project. We'll look at that in a sec, but the pool is where all your project audio files are shown, and that's quite handy to save having to do it manually. So we'll say yes for that, and then you can have it to render straight onto a new audio track. Again, very handy. So we'll have both of those on. So that's it. Now on channel selection, obviously your main out is stereo out, so everything's going to that, but you could untick that and just have one of the tracks. but we'll just do stereo out, because we can do that by muting the tracks in the arrange window, rather than confusing ourselves here. So there we go. Then you hit export and away you go. It's rendering that name to the desktop as a WAV file with your bit settings here. It's importing it into the pool and onto a new audio track. So hit export. Copy file to working directory. If you've made a proper directory for your project, that can be handy, but you might not want that on if it's a file that's already present on your hard disk. That's another issue, but that's handy because it all means it's in the same place. Again, it's got your split channels option, so we'll just keep it like that, and then OK. So you'll see here it's imported it. You solo that and play, and that's it. That's what came out of the stereo channels. So that's now rendered, and you can add effects to that. That's an audio file, and you can use that in any, obviously import that into any sound editor or another audio application, and that's it. So like I say, if you wanted to render just the drum beat, you can do that exactly the same. Export, audio mix down. What you can hear is what gets rendered, and that includes effects. So if you mute effects, there aren't any on this, but if you have effects on it and you bypass the inserts, obviously it won't record with inserts. It's whatever you can hear, and that's the end of that.